Good morning, everyone. My name is Brent. I'm the host for Canadians with Disabilities and their Allies. Today, I have Larry Neufeld on, and we're going to be talking about public transit in Canada and the lack of national bus service in Canada. Good morning, Larry.
Hey, Brent.
Hi.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you on. And yeah, today we'll be talking about public transit and like I mentioned, the lack of national bus service in Canada with the departure of Greyhound Canada as we knew it back in 2018. I think it was actually, I believe it was October of 2017, if I'm not mistaken, when they pulled the plug. And yeah, it was really a shame, right? So many communities in Canada were left up in the air with no means of transportation to get around or public transit to connect communities together. Accessibility is so important.
Yeah, actually, with Greyhound, they ended their service. It was around May of 2021 that they permanently, like, they pulled all their Canadian bus routes.
Oh,
That was,
wow.
yeah. So that's when they ceased operations, like across Canada. And I'm not like, I wouldn't say I'm a transit expert. I'm more like a transit activist
Yeah.
and a transit user. Like that's my main source of transportation. Actually, is I use like bus to get around to most places, or I use my bike to get around in most cases, or do some carpooling. But yeah, so I guess I would be speaking more from a perspective of personal experience, and maybe a discussion on maybe steps that we could take on how maybe advocating for improving bus service like across Canada and wherever someone might be, like in their local city or province or wherever that might be too. So that was sort of the direction I was hoping to go in. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Larry. And I appreciate the great discussions that we'll be having with the transit and a national bus service, and advocating for change to make things better for people is the number one goal. And I'm totally on with you on that because I use transit all the time, and that is my only means of transportation. And not having accessible routes makes it more of a barrier for me, especially if they don't connect up with other mainline bus bus routes that are more frequent. And so if you get buses that are running like say every hour and a half, and yeah, it creates more of a time burden on person's schedule, right, of getting to and from where they need to go. And how do we make them faster? Or maybe like bus lanes in some cities are creating them already, designated bus routes. And yeah.
Yeah, that's dedicated bus lanes. That's something I think a lot of cities are probably going in that direction, unless they're sort of just getting going, like with transit. And speaking about, more frequent bus service, that's a challenge that is really a problem, like where I am, which is in Regina. People are, in some cases, like in evenings, they have to wait like something like up to an hour to get like a bus. And then when you have like Sunday service and holidays, and that was actually a recent addition in the last, I don't know, not like super recent, but fairly recent, that we actually got service on statutory holidays. We didn't even have that, if you can believe it.
No, geez, yeah.
And then like on Sundays, our service here, yeah, it's like an hour that you have to wait. It starts around 8 in the morning and ends around 6, the last bus. So it doesn't even go into evenings. That's very difficult for people that have like jobs and are trying to take the bus. And if that's your primary means of transportation, if you're a person who has ability challenges, that kind of strands you basically, almost. And it's like, if you need to go somewhere, it's like, okay, call a cab. Is everybody, can you cabs are not exactly cheap to get from one place to another, and
No.
bus service is the most affordable way of transportation for a lot of people. And most people on the bus are people that are on tight budgets. These are
Mhm.
not often people that have like tons of money, unless you're like maybe 9 to 5ers or something like that are working office jobs, maybe in a downtown area or something like that. But it's not something that they really depend on in many cases. It's just more a convenience thing.
Yeah, and people end up finding themselves isolated within their own communities, and they can't actually go to help out their local businesses because they can't get there because there's no transit. And like you said, take a cab. I mean, they're not cheap. No, I mean, you start doing that a whole bunch of times, well, then oh wow, there blows your budget, right, for
Oh,
the month.
yeah.
People on a fixed incomes. I mean, seniors, low income people, people with disabilities. I mean, you name it. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. They need to get around, and if transit is their only means to connect up to appointments, to go shopping, to go visit family, friends. I mean, they need that transportation. I think it's so imperative that local communities, like local councils on within the cities, they need to focus on how do we collectively make transit more accessible? How do we expand the service? And the taxes are there.
Mhm.
Like it pays for the
Yep.
service. And what I hear too from a transit, like I'm in British Columbia, and of course I'm outside of our TransLink area where it's like in like a metropolitan area. It's rapid transit, like they have mass transit everywhere. But I live outside of the area. I live in Victoria, so we have BC Transit, but everywhere our BC Transit services is not as frequent. On if you're not on a main bus route, you like an hour and a half in one route I haven't taken yet, but it's every 2 hours. So I'm probably not likely to even go and explore that route because I don't want to be stranded, right? I'd have
Hmm.
to really look
Yeah.
at the itinerary because getting around is it already takes, it's already enough mobility issues getting around on certain routes already. I know, like one grocery store I have to go to every so often, it takes an hour, right, from my bus stop to get to that grocery store. So and then you're shopping, so you're looking a good 3 hours, 3.5 hours by the time all's said and done. And that's just terrible. Like it shouldn't be that way. Like an LRT or something rapid service would enhance and make things faster.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah. And in Regina, we do have a few what they call express routes. Not not a whole lot of them, but they when they do have them, they do get you to where you need to go quite quickly. The way the express routes work is you don't stop at every single stop along the route one of the normal buses would. So it like maybe sort of like every other bus stop or something like that, or every few bus stops, it would stop instead. So then it's able to go a lot quicker, like along the line, and you're able to get on the bus a lot sooner. The other
Mm.
side of that, though, of course, I can see like, a person might have to go a little further to get to the bus they need to in order to get that express bus. But at least it's a better option, and it runs a lot more frequently, which is great to see. That's what we need, is to have more frequent bus service. But it's an investment. If you put the money in there, you can certainly expand and provide not just express routes, but more frequent bus service where you have to wait at most maybe 10 or 15 minutes, like for a bus. And that's like all the time, even in the evenings, even on Sundays. They should have like something like that rather than like, oh, I got to wait an hour and oh, got cut off at 6. Okay. I can't go to this. I can't visit my relatives, or I can't go work that shift at my job. I can't go shopping at that time. So and that impacts the economy too. You know, uh,
Oh, huge.
some people might look at this and go like, "Oh, it's just a convenience thing." Well, it also impacts your local economy. Like if a person is just looking at it purely from dollars and cents and not from wanting to be nice to people, you know, look at it economically. It hurts your local businesses. It hurts them being able to find employees, workers. It hurts them to be able to sell products and stuff, because people are like, I have to stay home. I can't get there, or I can't buy that because I got to save my money for a cab. So it has its impacts, like with transit. People probably, people that drive cars and stuff like that, maybe don't realize that or pay much attention to that. Not to slag everybody who drives a car. there's
Yeah.
there's people that drive cars and stuff that are, that I know, that have advocated quite strongly, like for better transit service too, because they realize these things. It hurts people. It hurts the local economy. So it has a lot of negative impacts by doing that. And I know I was looking at some forums and stuff, and people were saying recently they added a route to they did some expansion outside the city, and that's another problem with our city, is this problem with sprawl, where they just keep constructing stuff out, but they don't plan transit routes.
Mm.
And just recently, they finally added a transit route to one area that one neighborhood that they had built on the edge of the city. And on this forum, somebody was saying, "Oh, more buses where our taxes are going into that are empty buses again." It's like, well, you know what? If you have more frequent bus service, you make it cheaper, affordable for everybody. More people will actually use those buses, and they would actually be, fuller. But also, don't look at it simply from the fact that, oh, the bus is empty, like as it goes by, like at one time. There's going to be other people taking that bus at other times, and it'll be a little fuller. But people that are like more opposed to transit service just look at one empty bus and go like, oh, my tax dollars are being wasted. No, actually, it's a good investment. People do take the buses at some point. It might be a little emptier at certain periods, but I know I've taken some routes and it's like they're pretty empty, but you go sometimes and they're packed. They're packed full of people at other times.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. And if you expand the service and you average it out, and you make it more frequent rather than say, and some routes are an hour or 45 minutes, and out here some routes are like 35 minutes, 40 minutes. But you start making them more frequent, more people are going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
What's that movie? Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's the same thing as transit. You put the service out, and yeah, people are going to use it, because the myth is that people say, oh, yeah, transit's inconvenient. It's not going to take me where I need to go to. And that's the narrative I always hear out here. But now I see more people are taking the transit, because now and some routes are increasing them by a few minutes. I mean, it makes a huge difference, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the cost of gas, I mean, it's just right through the roof. But of course, the auto industry, I mean, they would argue that, well, no, we need more vehicles. Because the part I'm seeing too is a lot of cities are like want to expand highways. Well,
Mm-hmm.
why expand highways? Why do we need to expand roads? Put more transit on and get people to and from, rather than accommodating more vehicles. I mean,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
One good thing actually that Regina did recently, and I don't know if this is in your experience, if that's happening out in BC, Regina Transit recently launched free fares for kids 13 and under. Now, when that did go to council, they were pushing like for totally free service for adults as well. That didn't pass through, but we did get like the 13 and under, and a lot of people had to push hard on that. But that's a win, I would say, and it does get the foot in the door basically towards ultimate goal of providing free transit service for everybody, which would be the ideal way to go. So that's yeah. So I don't know if that's happened like where you are, or maybe if you heard of anything that's happening in BC anywhere.
Yeah, it has been happening out here. There's a lot of infrastructure, like a lot of talk about changing how traditionally how things are going. There's definitely lots of that movement going on, but of course that can change too after we've had a civic election coming up too in
Mm-hmm.
October. So I'm quite active when it comes to the transit too. Like, I mean, you and I see eye to eye on that, definitely big time. What I'd like to know too, Larry, is what have you been working on with transit ideas? Just kind of curious on that.
Well, I was like supporting the movement like for free transit here in Regina, and I have actively been contacting my counselor about that and trying to get everybody on board on council like to move in that direction. Didn't happen for the free transit, but we did get to 13 and under, and also have been also like working on getting council like, and this is all part of advocacy work, is contacting your city councilor. You just got to be like talking to them, contacting them like constantly, doing surveys, creating surveys, participating in surveys that will go towards council, that they can see this information and see that people care. People are paying attention to this.